So let's get started. This is the first bi-weekly Imba community meeting for 2016.
Yay!
We have been very consistent, so it's a very good start. 7 a.m. in the morning. Most people are probably sleeping or starting the day, but we are awake and ready to go through the topics.
Yeah, sounds good. So should we just jump right in?
Yes, so it doesn't matter which order we do things in. We are definitely gonna cover everything.
Yeah.
And I have my wireless keyboard here so I can write down notes while we're going through it.
Yeah. Maybe we should change to my screen or.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So can you let me try to stop sharing somewhere. Yeah, so for those who are curious, we have two computers up and we're sitting next to both of them.
Yeah.
We just switch the monitors now.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. So just following up on Imba 2, which is obviously the main thing to discuss going forward. I've been working along on the new version. Still quite a lot remaining, but I've managed to write a lot more tests, implement more of the remaining important features. I'm not sure how much there is to really go through right now, but it is coming together nicely, and I've been working on it with the goal of essentially looking at the big code bases we have today, and then implementing the real world things I know that we actually need to be able to move to Imba 2 in these code bases. And the last few days, I've also reworked the source mapping in version 2 to make it basically to make it work both in Node and in the browser. And really cool byproduct of that is that we can now do some fancy analysis and type inference and stuff that we can maybe show later now for VS Code and potentially other editors that support the language server protocol. To be honest, I don't really remember. It's difficult to remember like what has actually changed since the last meeting. But I do think we've done a lot with regards to syntax and implemented. So moved even more towards ES6 support, implemented support for class fields, private and public class fields with our own syntax and some slightly different semantics than JavaScript. We can choose to just make it work exactly like JavaScript class fields, but I think the solution we have is better, and it's that much better that I do think that we should actually differ from the ES6 version somewhat. Let me think. We have also implemented support for decorators, which are extremely useful. It removes some of the need for like the quirky undocumented options for properties and attributes. And yeah, overall, I guess a lot of people have tried and used decorators in TypeScript or JavaScript already. And those of you who have probably know how valuable they are. So that's a really nice addition to the language as well.
Nice.
Yeah. And as for the analyzer output, the output from the Imba analyzer is slightly broken right now, I think, because I haven't finished the transitions to the new source mapping, which is important because we need to like give information to the analyzer, the locations of different variables and stuff like that. But at the same time, I see the path going forward. I think our most advanced analysis should go through this new source mapped pipeline where we essentially use the TypeScript type inference yeah, basically syntax checker, where we should I just show it right now, just
yeah,
to show
you can show it so people know what you're talking about.
I think I just need to run.
So if you're listening to this in your headset and not looking at the screen, you should switch to a screen now.
Yeah. Let me see. Yes, no. Just need to run this once to. I should have prepared this. Let me see. No. Let us see. Maybe this worked. So I have a random JavaScript Imba project here, where you can see that we have a few different files in the source directory, and we also have some configuration stuff. But the important and cool thing here is that if we let's say we create a JavaScript file here, index.js, and we import it from src. So now I go into the Java, the Imba directory, basically with the Imba source files, and I require the Imba file we find here, like the index.imba. Then you will see now that when I go back to this index.js, I actually have all sorts of type information from the Imba file. So I can see that, okay, so lib exports tunnel, which is a class, and I can even jump to the definition, and it jumps to the Imba definition. And that also works for subclass. So this has a method handle, as you can see in the, where was I? As you can see here, the handle method, instance method, is not defined in tunnel. It's defined in the superclass in a different file.
So the outline also works in the VS Code thing.
Yeah,
in the bottom left corner.
Yeah. So we essentially can now implement jump to definition and extremely nice warnings and diagnostics. And we do it through JavaScript and TypeScript. So what we do in the background here is that we, in the background, generate declaration.ts files, like d.ts files, for each Imba file. And then we add a source map that converts from the declaration file to the real Imba file. And that means that we can then, you can then write an Imba project and essentially get all the same auto-completion and diagnostics that you're used to in JavaScript and TypeScript if you use an editor like VS Code. There's still work remaining on that, but instead of doing all sorts of type inference and complicated diagnostics ourselves, like analysis, I think it's much more powerful to just, we are compiling to JavaScript anyway, so I think it's a really good idea to take that output and then run that output through the TypeScript stuff, and then map it back to the Imba files.
I think it's a great idea, and then we can reuse all of the JavaScript tooling.
Yeah.
And we just need to make our bits work.
Yeah, and like magically, when we create this glue layer, like finish it, then in an Imba file, when you write math.here, then you will get the same sort of auto-completion that you get in the JavaScript world, where you basically see all the functions and their documentation and stuff. So it will be really cool and powerful. I think.
Productivity boost.
Yeah. And also the source mapping even works now with compiled tag trees and stuff, so that it will look nice in the web inspector and stuff. If something wrong happens, like if you add an attribute here that somehow throws an error, then source mapping will always send you to the correct location.
Nice.
There's probably still work remaining, but source maps has become like much more useful. To be honest, in Imba 1, I never used source maps because they just weren't reliable enough and they weren't granular enough, so it was difficult to actually debug things with source mapping on. So I ended up just looking at the compiled JavaScript instead. But now this is like getting good enough. So
nice.
Yeah.
Good work.
Cool.
So that's a good update on that. So we know that the analyzer stuff is not gonna happen before the source map.
Yeah.
So, and that's also related to the tooling.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Are you gonna be working on the VS Code extension then, or?
I think maybe the two of us will try to look into how we can. The missing piece now is just interacting with the TypeScript language server and converting all these caret positions and stuff from the Imba files to the compiled JavaScript files and back. So there are challenges remaining, but I think it shouldn't be too difficult for the two of us.
Yeah, let me just write that down. So what we want to do is we want to reuse the JavaScript tooling.
Yeah, essentially.
So
we also want to add our own tooling on top of it for auto completion inside of tags and things like that. That isn't supported in TypeScript TypeScript declaration files.
Yeah.
But that's not like hugely important. That's just a cool thing to add.
Yeah, I totally get that, and that makes sense because then so one thing is the language server.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do all of the TypeScript stuff in the language server, but is that then going to be heavily dependent on VS Code, or can we design it so that it's just language server specific, so that we are actually just depending on another language server?
Yeah.
So you run multiple language servers when you're writing Imba.
I think that's what we're going to do. So essentially, we're going to have an Imba language server, and that language server just depends on TypeScript and will spawn a TypeScript language server as well, just in the background. We might even be able to just like go away from the real file system for these intermediary TypeScript files.
Yeah, virtual file system.
Yeah, but but it is also nice actually to just by default create these TypeScript definition files for your Imba files, so that when you export or publish an Imba library, or you consume a library written in Imba, either from JavaScript, TypeScript, or from another Imba project, it's really nice to have these type definitions automatically.
Yeah, but can't we just do that somehow with tooling? Like, couldn't we create Imba generate type definitions, and that one tool just install that or enable it, or if it's in the Imba command, but it's just somewhere, and then you just enable it, or you run it once. Yeah, because I don't like the idea of having more packages. Like, let's say you have one, here's my library for adding galleries, creating galleries, and then I publish that. And if people want to use it, they just import it. But if they want the auto completion of all of that, then you have to install one more package, my gallery -types or something like that.
And did you want that or not?
No, I don't want that.
No,
I want the
exactly.
tool to do that.
Yeah, that's
it reads the gallery and then it generates the type files. And they're not even visible to me. It just does it, and then
that's the idea. But I also think that
should be that.
But shouldn't the default be that when you publish your library, like the gallery slider thing, shouldn't that also just include the TypeScript definition files?
Oh, why should it?
Because it's just, that's the way it works. Like, you never generate these files.
Why can't you generate those files on demand? Like,
you generate mostly
them the
because
first time, and then they're cached, and then the ID has access to them, and then it's over.
I think it's just not the way it's usually done, and it's much more expensive. Like, it is much slower. So doing these pretty deep analysis that that TypeScript does to create these files is relatively expensive, I think. And there's a reason like TypeScript has packaged and included tons of declaration files for Node and the DOM and browsers and libraries, and I see no reason to not pre-create them, because
to reduce your package size, so you don't.
Yeah, but the sizes of these files are like, it's essentially, if a package, like, they won't be included in the browser or anything. It's just in the directory, like in the node modules
so when
directory.
you install it, they are being pulled in.
Yeah, but if like that's 20 extra kilobytes for your project, I think that's pretty useful. And the good thing about it, that will make it work even for if people use the library. Like, you have created a Imba, some sort of Imba library that people use without even knowing about Imba, then they will automatically get auto completions and stuff in VS Code, in Sublime Text, in all the editors that use language server, without installing anything related to Imba.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And that
maybe it's better. Yes, maybe it's better to publish with them.
It could be an option, but I think we both agree at least that it should be like the default. Like, you shouldn't need to worry about these files, and
you shouldn't have to worry about them. It should be transparent.
Yeah.
So when you install the package, and then you start, at least for the VS Code users, they start writing, and then it's just auto-completion works.
Yeah. Cool. Documentation plans. Just one thing about that for the people who are curious. There is like a in the Imba compiler now, Imba repository, and the test folder inside apps. It's slightly chaotic, but there is already quite a few like tests that you can actually see to see a lot of the syntax in version 2 and how things works for like class fields and class inheritance and classes in general, loops. We also have, I think, probably mentioned that a long time ago, but we do now also support like actual iterators, support for creating custom iterators, and also looping through iterators using the for of loop. And so we changed the syntax where for something of something now compiles to the native new ES6 iterator loops. And the old thing, like for own key value of, is still the old Imba version 1 loop where you go over all the keys of an object.
Yeah, so one thing we should definitely try to do is make these examples more available. So one thing I was thinking is maybe we could generate a website from the examples.
Yeah.
Like just you pass, it's an Imba command, it reads the directory as an output, just generates a static website.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those are static examples, right?
Yeah.
So they're only on the client side. So maybe, let's see, create.
So just while I remember it, since I now like suddenly remember different things that I've changed and improved. Another thing we've started working on is to intelligently require just parts of the runtime when it's needed, so that like we have some let's see. So it's just started, but just splitting up the runtime into more smaller files. Like this is a file for supporting fragments in the tag syntax. If you use SVGs, helpers for doing different things, some additional event syntax with modifiers and stuff will only be included if you actually use that specific event name in your files. And the idea here is to move towards using rollup for bundling and packaging. and then you will essentially get a disappearing runtime where it will only include the actual functions and things that you use. So the standard library will become even smaller. So it is pretty nice in the Hello World example that I've been experimenting with for the type definitions. I've also created just the rollup, let me see, rollup plugin and rollup config for like bundling things for the client and bundling things for the server. And a pretty full Imba example now takes minified Imba examples, takes like, I think it's 13 kilobytes or something. That includes the standard library. So gzip, the whole example is 4 kilobytes. And that's extremely small compared to most other frameworks and things today. There are tons of cool things. We are still moving, like we're not going to just release it as a production ready thing too soon. We are going to like think through things, try to make sure that it works for our use cases, and slowly like improve it. You are already able to try it out by installing Imba at free, and we will continue to do releases quite often coming up.
Yeah.
I've run into some problems trying to get it running on Scrimba at the same time as running regular Imba 1 stuff. So I'm just, maybe we should for a while just support it through a Imba 2 extension or something like that. Because the main problem isn't that we can do the compilation, but it's more difficult to have the text editor in Scrimba support both of these different syntaxes and languages with the same extension. So you get a bunch of syntax highlighting errors and errors from the Imba worker that analyzes the code. And yeah, it's not a pleasant experience right now. So I think we should probably do initial support using the Imba 2 extension, and then rather just switch over when it is ready for production. So we could try this week to make it work with the Imba 2 extension, and then we could do some Imba changelog stuff on V2, maybe early next week. I'm not sure what's your thoughts on that, but
yeah, I'm just gonna write that down Imba changelog. So I haven't really thought about how it's supposed to run on Scrimba.
Yeah.
But if we can't get it working together with V1, yeah, as long as it's working, it doesn't matter for us. Like when we are writing, if it's treated as a separate thing,
yeah,
I think it's totally fine that that's a temporary solution, and then later a path forward from V1 is discovered.
Yeah.
So for the Imba changelog things, as long as we can record, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would be good to maybe even have not one big Imba changelog session, but maybe 5, or maybe 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Like we say, here is what we want to cover, everything that's changed, and then mark it as very clearly that not everything in here might end up in the final release. Some things might disappear, and then just mark the title and the description. So we could just make it totally clear that this is an alpha version we're talking about and not an actual production ready. You can use it in production, but you're using it at your own risk.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good idea to have changelog episodes, because then we can just link them in the chat, and it's also good for me to actually, it's more stable now than earlier.
Yeah.
But then it's more motivating to actually start using Imba 2
Yeah.
versus the limbo state where
Yeah.
V1 is you don't know, V2 is coming, but when is it coming?
Yeah.
So I think that would be good. I'm very positive to that, but I'm not sure how much we should slice it into. So 25 minutes is fine, but I don't think we should try to cover everything that's changed in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe we should try to cover it in 900 minutes and then divide that by 25.
Yeah.
So that's how many episodes. So there's going to be like many episodes just on Imba V2 Alpha, but I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because then we also have stuff we can tweet out.
Yeah.
And people can actually look at the syntax changes, and it's easier to watch something and then come with an opinion versus going through the code base, looking at the examples. I think it's more accessible, and you can actually stop and try around. So that's my thoughts at least. So I think that's a very good idea.
I agree.
But I don't know when do you have time. So if we started with that approach, do you have time on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? So we do 3 episodes next week, and then we start from wherever you want. Like this is the feature you think is the most awesome. We'll start there and then move downwards from the top.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal.
So
and we just need to make sure that we make it run with Scrimba before that. So let's have that as a goal this week.
Okay.
Like even today, work on that today.
Get Imba V2 running from Scrimba this week, and I just have to write in parentheses, use @sign.
And initially we might need to.
Oh, it's not my screen up, right? It's your screen, so you can't really see. If I use the @sign now, you can't see it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it. Cool. Let me try right now. Maybe I can.
It will probably take.
There's no point in estimating.
No,
it's
not.
Publicly.
No, I'm not talking about estimating time. It was more like it's going to be difficult to make requires and stuff work on Scrimba like this week because we are using ESM syntax and we don't. I'll think more about that, but at least if we get a relatively basic version running that can run single files and show them, I think that's probably good enough for now. Don't you think?
Yes, I think we can definitely limit it. It doesn't have to work. All the feature set doesn't have, like, you could just say that in the episode, this won't work, this won't work.
Yeah.
Or at the end or somewhere. But so I think it's more important to just, maybe we can do that straight after or schedule it, like just a small session where we create a spreadsheet and then just list out all of the feature set.
Yeah.
And then that's the episode order. And or we can reorder them based on your preference. Which one do you like the most? And then we walk through them in that order, and then we can reorder them again in what is actually implemented. Yeah. Because then we've really drilled down on the topics. Yeah. And then there's like then we can bring the timer. Yeah. And then just drill down. We could even try to do 2 per day. Like do one for morning and then do one before or after lunch. Yeah. Then we would have cool. So that would be 6 changelog episodes per week. Yes. 2, 4. We can talk about that later. So make list of potential episodes. Changelog there. Oh, okay. It's the next topic. Sorry, I didn't see it. We could actually just move it there. So, do you have anything else to add there, or do you want to jump to the next things?
No, we can just jump to the next thing.
Yeah, so we talked about this back and forth on the changelog episodes.
Yeah.
If we create that spreadsheet,
Yeah.
we'll have, I think it's very important that when we sit down, we can sit here and talk for hours.
Yeah.
It's nice to talk to each other,
Yeah.
but we have to get stuff done. So if we have that list ready,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be complete, just like at least 2-3 items.
Yeah.
And then we'll just bang out something. And there's more than enough like scenarios we could use. Like if we just spend some time thinking about it, like to-do app or like something like that is not the most interesting thing. So if we just spend some time, think about it, we can come up with some really cool stuff we can do.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And
Definitely.
the Imba V2 course, I've started creating a draft for something.
Yeah.
But the problem there is like how much is too much.
Yeah.
So I think if we do the changelog first, we can get used to, I can see your style better, you can see mine. I've actually seen yours a lot since you already have several screencasts.
Yeah, but I think they were kind of like too prepared. I think we should do, at least for the changelog, much more casual.
Yes.
Just jump through things.
Yes, and we don't need to spend a lot of time thinking about the title or the description.
Yeah.
We can always do that later, and then continuous improvement, basically.
Yeah.
Great. So that was.
So then we're going to just delay thinking about the course for some time, shouldn't we? Just rather focus on the changelog first. Doesn't that make more sense?
Yeah, and we could also discuss. Maybe I should reword that. Deferred.
Yeah.
So we can come back to it later. And then I'm not saying we should cancel it. I'm just saying
it
doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense right now to do it, because I think it's much better if we can tell people, hey, here is 10 episodes of blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Everything that's new, and that would be like it would be a way to practice and also rediscover the language again. And
yeah.
It's easy to sit in here in this nice office and think this syntax is really nice and it's good.
Yeah.
But then you actually are sitting unprepared and you want to do something, and then you try it on it, and then you see, whoa, this is actually not really that intuitive. Yeah. Or maybe, whoa, this feels really good, like the CSS comment blocks.
Yeah.
Like it feels really nice. You can write it differently, and it really supports the component-based way.
Yeah.
You don't need to think, oh, everything is in that file or that file or that file. It's just, this is my button, my amazing button, and everything I need for my button is in here.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I agree.
So there you actually, you don't really need to think about, is this good? You can try it out, you get the feel for it fast. So, and then while doing that, we could also try to encourage people to interact. Like in the, based on what I saw in the Gitter chat when we posted the last changelog, it was very positive.
Yeah.
Someone even wrote that they liked that this wasn't so scripted, or it was just as is. And I think that's gonna, or if we get more people interested, they could provide feedback before we actually start on a course. And then I think we should try to do the course different than what's been done before.
Yeah.
So
Sounds good.
That sounds good.
Should we wrap up?
Yeah, let's wrap up. Thanks.
Thanks. Talk to you later. See you in 2 weeks.
See you.